Hey Chance, thanks for coming in. In case you don't know, this is Chance Raspberry, a Simpsons animator and a friend of mine. We worked on some projects back in the day. He's come in to let us know about his latest and greatest project. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, thanks, Rick. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. The project I'm working on right now is called Little Billy, and it's an original animated series that I created that's about a child with special needs. It's the world's first animated series about neurodiversity and life with special needs, and it's loosely based on my own life growing up in the 1980s with Tourette syndrome. Now, Billy himself does not have Tourette's, but I do. And so I just got into all kinds of shenanigans as a child. There's some crazy stories that the cartoon is going to tell and go into extreme detail with. Just fun adventures, and it's going back basically to all that fun, adventurous, friendship-based stuff that we grew up with on in the 80s, like Goonies and Monster Squad and all the fun adventure movies, you know, and then we go a little deeper with stuff that's more like Breakfast Club or 16 Candles that's a little bit more emotional. But it's an animated series done in the style of, say, Looney Tunes, real classic hand-drawn animation, because that's what really fuels me when it comes to my art. So I thought, well, how cool would it be to combine a Looney Tunes style of animation and that real fluid traditional aspect with these great heartfelt stories from the 80s that I actually lived.
What really inspires me about you is the fact, first off, you know, you're working full-time in the industry, but also you're making time to do your passion project. And these passion projects are not easy to do. They're like pushing the boulder up every day up that dang hill, only to have it go out at the bottom of it. And so that inspires the rest of us that are out there trying to make films and you know, do something in this industry.
Cool.
Tell me a little bit about how you got started in animation.
Well, thank you, man. And dude, that's a great compliment. I really appreciate that. And I actually that's sort of where I start with the answer to that question. I got into animation because I was inspired by all of these wonderful artists that I was shown as a child. One of the things that my parents would do to sort of help me with my energy and sort of get a focus and get an outlet for all that extra energy I had was they would show me all kinds of stuff, movies, animation, TV shows, because they noticed that I had a real fascination with cartoons and film and just the colors and the emotions, and I would just sit, especially with animation, just sit mesmerized, staring at the TV, and I would look at what I was seeing on the screen, and I would, go get my pencils and paper and crayons and markers, and I would try to draw this stuff and actually recreate it from memory. And it got to a point where we had a VCR, and I just started either recording the stuff off TV or getting tapes for it or from it, and actually pausing the tapes and drawing what I saw on the screen. Before there was streaming and all this digital stuff, there were video cassettes, and you would wear out your VCR in a month. At least we would, because I would be pausing it all the time to try and draw the exact, the real Mickey Mouse or the real, Bart Simpson. And so all of that drawing from what I was seeing on the TV and movies led me to want to do this for a living. And, more and more of that as I went through school just manifested, and I just started pursuing it as a career path.
Were you the kid that was endlessly drawn all over his homework and all over his folders, and the teacher would be like, "That's going to get you nowhere at all. You got to do your arithmetic and your reading and writing." Not that we're anti that, but
exactly. That is completely what it was. Yes, I was that kid. I was the kid drawing on my notebook, my notes, my actual book covers on my textbooks. Every once in a while, I would totally lose track and actually draw in the book. I'd be like, "Oh man, where's my eraser?" I'm gonna have to pay for this or spend extra money. My parents are gonna flip out. But they were actually really supportive. My parents were the ones who got me on the path to animation by showing me all the cartoons and really understanding that I had this passion and gravitation towards it, and they nurtured that. They really kind of guided me in that direction. It's like, hey, if this is what he loves to do, don't try to make him do sports or do other things. If he just wants to draw all the time, let him draw all the time. Let him, keep watching these great cartoons, and they actually would seek them out and find more and more stuff they could show me. My mom's the one who introduced me to The Simpsons. You know, when it was first on Tracy Ullman, she saw it one night and just thought it was hilarious and ridiculous, like the wonkiness of the drawings, and it was so different and so weird that I was in the other room like playing with my toys or drawing probably, and she calls me, she's like, Jets, you know, come in here, look at this show, this weird show, and I remember seeing it and just being, you know, like stunned at how wacky and fun and cool it was.
Oh yeah, it was an amazing original show for sure. Two pieces of questions on the next one. What advice would you give parents to encourage their kids, and then what advice would you give to upcoming artists?
Great, no, those are good questions. And the first advice I would give to the parents of any artist or child, you know, that really any you know, has a passion for any sort of creativity, is encourage them and really take them seriously. Take that passion seriously. You know, try to give them as many opportunities as possible to do that art, do that work, get practice, get schooling. If you can afford, you know, like trade schools or specialty classes in whatever form of art it is, I highly recommend that. The Animation Academy is a great example. You know, there are a lot of specialized schools that will, you know, oh yeah, you know, I mean, Animate for the Sell of It is a great one, and you can go to places to learn. See, and they're a place that's great because you learn on the job. You're actually working on a project with those guys, and you know, they basically you'll be trained in a way that you can't get in school. Because in school, you're basically being told, but in the studio or at a place like Animate for the Sell of It, you're being shown what to do, and you're actually getting the hands-on experience that you can't get in class and that you really need. Because one of the things I hear industry, you know, studio all the time is, oh, you know, the students that are coming out of the schools, or even you guys, when you first got in, like, you didn't know what, you know, like an X sheet was, or what, you know, how to do a pan, a camera move, like all these things. You don't actually learn a lot of the industry nuts and bolts in school, and it's not for lack of trying, but there's just so much to know, and you always learn more on the job and actually doing as opposed to reading about it or having someone tell you. So my best advice to those parents would be to encourage the kids to do that and really help facilitate those lessons and those you know, class and opportunities. And that kind of brings us full circle back to, like, me myself. I was basically so fascinated with animation and loving to draw that I actually would seek out animation history, documentaries, and just all this stuff that most people might find boring, or at least at my age. I mean, how old was I? 12? Like, you know, I was like a young teenager when I was doing all this stuff, and basically I would just learn. I wanted to learn as much as I could about the craft itself and the history and the origin and how animation was pioneered. So that's how I knew a lot of this stuff when I started working that we didn't learn in school. So that is actually my best advice to the students and the up-and-coming artists is do your homework. Really, if you're passionate about it, really go the extra mile to learn the history. Dig on whatever you love. You know, if it's Disney, if it's Warner Brothers, if it's anime, there's so many different things now. There's a lot of independent stuff out there online, and there are people actually making tutorial videos that you can, not unlike this one, where you can go and you can hear people talking about, you know, how they do their craft. There's step by step. They'll show you how they draw or how to draw a specific character, and you can learn without even having to go to school. So there's no excuses anymore. You basically like have the internet, and you have all these great resources on YouTube, and a lot of the software now is available. And even if you can't afford all the computer fancy stuff, you still got pencils and paper, and that's where it all starts. So definitely learn to draw before you learn the computer. You're kind of already sort of given that computer knowledge now, and learning those real good traditional art skills is what's going to make you stand out and rise above and shine as an artist. Every person I know that's worked in CG says it's always better if you know your art skills first, because you can always learn the software, and the guys who can draw and do the computer are just in a class way above anybody else because they have both. So that makes them even less expendable and more valuable to a studio, to a financier, a project that wants to get done. You got that extra knowledge. And so really just practice, never give up because it's a long, hard road. And, you know, hard work always pays off eventually. Someone notices it and it shines. So, guys, shine and be yourselves and do what you love to do. You know, I would say don't try to do things just because everyone else is doing them. It's like don't want to say, hey, this is you know, this project was super successful. Let's make another one of those, like another Family Guy or another South Park. It's like if you have an original idea, do that, go with that, and really pursue that. And that's what I'm trying to do with Little Billy.
How do we find you on the web, and how do we support your passion for your Little Billy project?
Well, cool. Thanks. I appreciate that, Rick. My project is Little Billy, and you can go to littlebilly.com. You can go to Indiegogo and search for Little Billy. The actual title is a Little Billy New Animated Short. And littlebilly.com will take you to the Indiegogo page where you can pledge for all kinds of perk rewards like this T-shirt I've got on here.
Sweet.
Thank you, sir.
We'll also have links at the bottom of this video as well. So
awesome, cool, thanks, man. And yeah, like there's all kinds of stuff. You know, you can get an art lesson, an hour one-on-one with me. You can do art. We can take your skills to the next level. I can tell you stories about the crazy behind-the-scenes madness career at The Simpsons. And if you just want a portfolio review or critique on stuff you've already drawn, we can do that too. It's an hour of time for anything creative you want to discuss or, you know, work on.
Very, very cool. Speaking of art lessons, who are you going to draw for us today?
Well, I thought I would do a Krusty the Clown. He's one of my favorite characters. So with Krusty the Clown, Herschel Christofsky, what I like to do to start off is just do this nice sort of dome shape for the top of the head, because Krusty is basically Homer. They're almost the same design, and that's actually intentional. The reason is, if all of you, anyone out there doesn't know this, is that they wanted there to be like kind of a psychological connection for Bart, that his hero just happens to greatly resemble his father. And it's really cool because, you know, in most of, like 99.9% of the show, Bart and Homer don't get along, and they're always at each other's throats, quite literally most of the time. But it just is like a nice heartfelt touch that Bart's all-time great hero in life would be basically his dad. You know, it's just, so they made that design. I thought that was a really fun way to sort of throw in like a really cool psychological Easter egg in a physical way using the actual model of the characters. So both Homer and Krusty have like this thumb shape for their heads. And what I like to do is to know where, you know, the center of the head is going to be. I do that center line, and then I do just another line here on the side to sort of break the plane of the head and show where the side of the head is. And that also is going to basically give me what I need to contain the eyes in the right place. So once I've got that drawn in, I do my eye lines, and I use a top and a bottom, not just a bottom one, to give myself even more structure and guidance. And this, once I have those blocked in, it showed me exactly how and where to draw the eyeballs. So now we can see this starting to become a Simpsons shaped, and we do that nice little eyebrow up top there. And then this bottom line here, the bottom eye line, is a guide for the nose, because it shows us, it basically cuts the nose in half. And that's the rule with all the main Simpsons family. And so once we have where the nose goes and the fact that it's cut in half in the right place, we can just pop that right on there. And it's Krusty the Clown with his Krusty Clown nose. So I'm going to flesh out the eyes, just to define those a little bit more, get those starting to look like full circles. And you guys notice, you take your time and you really make your shapes look solid and uniform and, you know, strong, even, well-defined shapes that aren't sloppy, they're not rushed. And and that's going to make your drawings look way better and way more professional. So once I have that blocked in, like, oh my gosh, look, actually starting to look like a Simpsons character. Let's give him some pupils and watch the fun magic of life begin. Now he's actually starting to look alive. So we've got Krusty with crusty eyes. And the cool thing that I love about Krusty is that with the designs, they used to do this great thing with a lot of the characters where the smile was so big that it would actually overlap. There would be like this overlap of the muzzle right here, like this fold. And now that's kind of against the rules, but they never took it away with Krusty because, you know, it really does define his smile and his laugh and a lot of the things that make him Krusty the Clown. So I'm just gonna make this muzzle and see, all I'm basically doing is like I'm drawing through as if the character is see-through, and you can see all these structure and construction here, that how I'm fitting, almost like a Mr. Potato Head, I'm fitting the eyes and the nose and the mouth onto the shape of the head, and I'm not just guessing where all of this stuff goes. So now the neck here, this is a real nice trick. The neck flows into the bottom of the mouth, so you don't want to cut in or make it way out here. It's all part of the same head. So you want it to flow from the top there down into his lower lip, and then from there you just go ahead and draw through here, and we bring this down, this other side of the mouth down, and push this a little bit lower, give him a slightly bigger smile, and voila. Now we're starting to get a real authentic looking Krusty. So from there, Krusty's got those, was another thing that they don't always push too much with the characters, but sometimes we see their teeth when they laugh or smile real big. So I just draw that basic shape in there to get where the placement of the teeth are, and then I can bring that down, really start to define the shape of the mouth there and what's happening, and we'll get those teeth working now. Because I blocked them in, I know exactly where they need to go and how big they need to be and how many of them there are, and just draw a tongue in there. Nice big grin. And so now with the same eye line, really the only thing he's missing is his ear. And where the eye line cuts the nose in half, it marks where the top of the ear is. And the ear and the nose, thickness-wise, are about the same size. So that's another way to landmark exactly how big you need to make this stuff when you're drawing this character. And from there, you can just kind of go in and start tying it down. The only thing that's missing now is his classic Krusty hair. And I'll just draw that right here. I'm just going to block it, shape of it in first, so I know what I'm doing before I do it. I don't want to guess. The more you have this stuff figured out as you go, the more solid and professional looking your drawings will be in the end. So, I'm basically going to draw through his head to where the hair comes off to the other side, so I know to start it right there. And if you really want to get technical, you can draw through the top, which I recommend if you're just starting out. But you notice how light I'm drawing too with the pencil. I'm not getting real heavy-handed with my lines, which is sometimes difficult to do because you know, we all have a tendency to want to push down hard and really finalize and commit to our drawing lines, but that can become counterproductive if we're not careful. So I would actually tweak that a little bit, but I'll fix that later. The shape is just a little different than I want it to be, but another fun secret for you guys is you can always do the flip and fix. If you turn your drawing upside down, things that aren't working will jump out at you. So this shape kind of needs to be a little longer to match the other hair. But we're getting close. We're getting close here. So that's almost just right. And now we just do that nice fun shape on the top. Almost like a dollop of ice cream. I love it. It always makes me want ice cream. So basically, we are close to being done here now with Krusty the Clown. I just want to give him his details around his eyes, because the joke with Krusty is he's been doing this a really long time, so he's kind of got these bags under his eyes, but it makes his like clown humor and his laugh and everything that much funnier. So I mean, look, and I mean now it looks like his eyes are open real wide. So since we know that this is the center, we'll just draw that little the center of his bow tie right here, and I will just draw that tie out, and then give him his shirt collar. Krusty the Clown coming to life right here at Animate for the Sell of It. And guys, we encourage you to animate for the sell of it, because this is what it's all about, the process and the journey and learning and doing what you love. You know, this is the stuff that kept me sane and still keeps me sane with my Tourette syndrome. It's a great outlet for energy. It's a great outlet for creativity and ideas. And do it, you know, the first rule of art is have fun. You know, it's if you do it for a living, there's always gonna be, you know, a job aspect of it involved. But even there, you know, you can have fun with it and really just make it your own. Now you see, I'm just going in and adding because I gave myself a nice guideline for the shape of Krusty's hair. I'm going in and adding the puffs of hair to that, and they're definitely gonna be the right shape and the right size, because I planned ahead and I figured out all of that first. I didn't just try to start drawing blindly with random lines. So yeah, it's working. Go in and give that a nice finish here. Give Krusty his puff hair. And there you go. Krusty the Clown, ladies and gentlemen.
Nicely.
And why don't we do
Well, thank you so much for the lesson, Chance, and we'll see you soon when your picture's on the big screen.
Thanks, Rick. My pleasure, and thank you.